Sling TV has something for everyone. It really just depends on what kind of mood you're in. But no matter what you're looking for, you can watch it with Sling. Sports, news, or today's hottest shows. Plus, you can explore thousands of movies and shows on demand. And getting Sling is easy. Sign up and start watching in just 5 minutes, stream on any device, and record up to 50 hours with included DVR space. Plus, you won't get locked into a long-term contract. Check out sling.com for special offers. Sling, the TV you love for a price you'll love. Try it today. Welcome to the Andy Staples Show, presented by Sling. It is a Thursday afternoon if you're watching on the YouTube stream, Friday morning if you're listening on the podcast. It is time to pick some games. Nicole Auerbach, she of Power Hour, is here. Ari Wasserman, he of Stars Matter, is here. Nicole and Ari, how are we doing?
Hello, guys. How are you? It's lovely to see your beautiful faces.
I shaved, so it's extra pretty today.
Well,
yeah, I can see a little bit more of it.
Ari sent me some clips of his workout that he did before this show, and it is tremendous. I'm gonna let him decide when he's gonna put those on the internet, Nicole. But let's just say,
why didn't I get a clip from this workout, Ari?
Just picture me out of breath. You got it.
No, Ari's
fitness
doing
Instagram.
Yeah, he's doing the hardcore stuff. He's got they got the bands out. The dumbbell bands where you've got to hold, you're on the bench and you got to hold one arm up while you're pumping the other arm. Ari is going to be an underwear model.
My arms are shaking holding this mic up, so it's just a nice reminder to get a stand. But we're feeling good. We're feeling good. Eventually we'll get there. You know, it's been a long journey, but we're going to get there. And I'm very fired up, not because of working out, but because of some of these spreads this weekend.
It's going to be going to be a fun show because
then I found out too that getting into Twitter feuds with people before the show is really good to amp me. It's like walking through the tunnel at the Rose Bowl, I assume.
I missed this one. I was busy putting the show together. What are we feuding about right now?
Who are we feuding with?
Clemson fans are very mad at me for comparing them to 2014 Florida State.
Oh, I think they feel seen.
I'm scared.
Listen. Anybody who watched that season is going, yep, it looks about right.
As I tweeted, I said I'd be more concerned about the opinion if anybody other than Clemson fans was angry.
Yeah, I mean that's really about it. But Nicole, we talked about Ari and I talked about that line a lot when we did the reaction show to the rankings. It is a weird one.
So remember how much we all freaked out at the very first rankings ever? I mean, we look fondly back about Mississippi State, but everyone was shocked that Florida State wasn't higher because they were undefeated. That was the beginning of us learning that just because you're undefeated does not mean the committee loves you. Mm-hmm. So it's funny that we're all wired so differently now. Where, I thought that TCU would be ahead of Alabama, which maybe, again, they're trying to rewire that stuff. But this was a good example of like the type of team that in the past, maybe numbers would have loved little differently. I don't know. But I don't think anyone coming out of that rankings, looking at these rankings, especially seeing Michigan behind them, because so many of us thought Michigan was going to be in the top 4, would take Clemson over Michigan on a neutral site field. And that's where I did not see anyone who thought that would be the case, that Clemson would be favored in that game. And so that gets to the conversation of most deserving versus best resume versus, Michigan's a really, really, really good football team, right? So it's one of those. It's going to work itself out. But Ari, I do appreciate you taking the fight to the Clemson fans because, they've had things go so well for so long that I'm sure that they needed to find a new nemesis for you.
Alex Kirshner from Split Zone Duo tweeted this after the playoff call on Tuesday. Sorry. And I thought it was like the perfect tweet. And I wish I would have come up with it myself, but he said, "It's not personal, but I'm adopting someone needs to do something about Clemson for the good of the sport stance. We don't need to see this year's Clemson in a semifinal play the role of Notre Dame or Oklahoma. Someone will handle this on our national behalf." And it's true. It's like they're kind of blocking because if Clemson goes undefeated, they're in. It doesn't matter if they win by
you're
one
exactly right.
They're in. So it's kind of like the entire sport is just sitting here with bated breath, hoping that they don't block a spot from somebody else who's probably better than them, but just they took the spot because they happened to not lose.
100,
And like
I
I
100%
do think
agree.
that I do think that going undefeated in a Power 5 conference is inherently difficult. There's no question about it. And if you do that and you win your conference, you deserve to be in. So I'm not saying that Clemson doesn't deserve to be in. I'm not even saying that Florida State in 14 didn't deserve to be in. But everybody with functioning retinas is looking at this team and knows they're not going to win the national title. And in a year where there's so many good teams and so many other discussion points, it would be much better if someone new got in instead of Clemson taking that final spot. Because no matter who gets in the 4th spot, probably is going to get their butts kicked in the first round anyway. So let's watch somebody else get their butts kicked.
I'm not so sure that's the case this year because I don't feel like anybody's as dominant. That the number 4 team just is definitely going to get destroyed. I don't think so. But let us talk about Clemson. Let's talk about Clemson Notre Dame. We'll get right into the picks here. Clemson, 4-point favorite against Notre Dame. Ari, when we did the reaction show on Tuesday night, it was a 3.5-point favorite. Clearly, some gamblers have seen that this is a strange looking line. You pointed it out. It looked strange to you. It's not that many points. Clemson should be favored by a lot more against a team that lost to Marshall and Stanford, but I don't know. It's tempting here because everybody loves that brand of Notre Dame or hates that brand of Notre Dame. But I will point out to you, Notre Dame beat Syracuse because it ran the ball straight up the middle against Syracuse, had very little problem doing that. Drew Pine, what are Drew Pine's stats from the Syracuse game? 9 of 19 for 116 yards with 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Guys, Notre Dame ain't beating Clemson unless something happens very differently on offense than what has happened in every other Notre Dame game.
And this is the entire point. Like, there's no way you're not taking Clemson here, right? Like this, it might be the trap of the Las Vegas trap of the century, but like it's one of those traps where you just put your foot in and hope it doesn't get you. You know, because it's like I look at Clemson and what I said about them was inherently negative if you're a Clemson fan, right? But you still have to make the point that they're still better than 95 to 98% of the sport. Just because I don't view them as the 4th best team right now doesn't mean that they're not a very good football team. So even if you take Clemson out of the national championship discussion and put them side by side by Notre Dame, there's no question which team is a better football team. So I'm trying to come up with the thought process of like, what is the matchup in this game? Or what is the thing in this game that's going to give Notre Dame a chance? And I'm looking at the team and everything.
If DJ throws them the ball a few times,
it's the quarterback. Game. It's right. It's like this isn't. It was interesting looking statistically at some of the top teams, which we know that the committee is getting these advanced metrics, and some of the stuff isn't that advanced, and people use it now. You know, each points per drive and yards per play, and all these different things. I mean, Clemson's offense is significantly further down the totem pole than all of the other teams we talk about as title contenders. Well, but right, it matches exactly what it feels like when you watch them, right? And so it's hard, it's a struggle, it's not reliable. There's a stretch there where like DJ had some things figured out and they figured that they were playing pretty well. But still, the last time we saw Clemson, they nearly lost to Syracuse and they subbed out their starting quarterback and then insisted that there's not a quarterback controversy. So like you still do have some questions if you're looking at ways that this is going to either be closer than you anticipated or possibly have an environment where Notre Dame has a chance to win. You have it because of Clemson's offense. It's not exactly where it was like the beginning of last season, but the last time out, there were a lot of problems.
After the game, the Syracuse game, Dabo said in the post-game news conference, but the interview on the field, that every now and then Steph Curry goes 2 for 19 and he has to come out of the game. And I take 2 exceptions to that. 1, DJ is not Steph Curry. And 2, I don't think Steph Curry's ever gone 2 for 19. I'm not a basketball whiz, but I would be shocked if that was ever a real stat line.
Yeah, it's like saying every now and then Ben Simmons goes 2 for 19 and comes out of the game,
which is like frequent, I imagine.
Yeah, or he goes 0 for 0 because he won't shoot. But so yeah, Clemson number 66 in the country in yards per play gained. Now their net points per drive rank, which is how many points per drive you score minus how many points per drive you allow, is 10th in the country, which tells you how good their defense is. And this is an elite defensive line, is the best part of that team. And that is the problem I have with Notre Dame, because it's not just that they have these, pass rushers that come screaming off the edge. They are great up the middle too. Brian Bresee is a top 10 draft pick. Tyler Davis is a top 50 to 100 type player.
It's Notre Dame is tough because like I love tight ends. I love how lots of programs have been using them. I saw did someone say that Brock Bowers was like somehow underrated? I saw that. I was like, no, people are already launching his Heisman candidacy.
Quite accurately rated.
Accurately rated. So anyway, tight ends are having a moment. It's been this way for a couple of years. Michael Myers, great. Your best player can't be your tight end and only your tight end when you then have trouble getting the ball to him and have no other weapons. So you know you're going to go to him. That becomes the problem.
Your best player can be your tight end if you have A.D. Mitchell burning on the outside.
Yes.
Notre Dame doesn't have anything like that. Notre Dame doesn't have anybody who can stretch you vertically. And so everybody looks for number 87 and they know you're going to feed it to him.
He's still going to do
I mean, if your best
things
player is Kyle Pitts, it can work.
But there were other.
But
Darius Toney was on.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like Kyle Pitts is not a human.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. But you still need other options that they have to cover.
No, I know.
There was another first-round draft pick on that offense. Just pointing that out. Speaking of SEC teams, let's head to Baton Rouge for our what to watch for presented by Sling game. Alabama at LSU. I'm acting like this is the appetizer to the main course in Athens. It's actually the game that comes on after that. But I am fascinated by this game because while LSU has not won in Baton Rouge since 2010, there have been some pretty close games. LSU has played Alabama tough when it's not supposed to. It feels like this is a time it is supposed to play Alabama tough. Yet Alabama is almost a 2-touchdown favorite.
I'm laying the points here.
Really?
I'm not convinced that LSU is good now. I'm not saying they're bad, but like it's kind of very similar to the feeling that you get with Clemson, I think, where you watch the games and like they have long spurts of offensive ineptitude. You know, it's like they only scored 13 points against Tennessee, and it's like, is that all fixed now? Jaden Daniels is just confident and can throw really well in 2 weeks. Like they're playing Bama
a
this
lot
weekend.
Better.
No, I know, but is it fixed? Because if it's not fixed, this is when it becomes apparent that it's not fixed. And I know it's on the road and it's in Death Valley, and of course you're like clinging to the memories of how awesome this game always is, and I'm sure it's going to be crazy this weekend because LSU, I guess, we got a lot of comments saying that if LSU wins out, that they could be in the playoff, right? And they should have been in our list of 13 potentially.
They would be the first 2-loss team to do it.
Yes, but like technically speaking, if they were to beat Alabama and then beat Georgia or Tennessee at the end of the year, you might find a way to. I mean, the SEC champion's going to go.
If they're a 2-loss SEC champ, they're in.
So if that happens, then I guess the list of 13 teams that could make it should have been 14. But like, I just don't know when the perspective of LSU changed from, oh my God, there's a lot of issues with this team to they could make the playoff. Like it happened like that. Like
I'll tell you when it happened. It happened when the offense looked better against Florida and against Ole Miss. Now, we could find out.
Say that again out loud.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Florida's defense and Ole Miss's defense should not give you any confidence whatsoever. And so a breakout performance against those two defenses maybe shouldn't give you any confidence either. But I will point out that has been steady incremental improvement. And sometimes you just need to see something work to figure out how things should work together. Because remember, new quarterback in Jaden Daniels, new offensive play caller in Mike Denbrock, some new players. This is not a group that was playing together for years. This is a group that is still trying to learn each other. So
there are two flip sides to this, though.
Mm-hmm.
One is how fractured is Alabama too, right? How fractured is it really? And then second of all, are you going to buy into the Death Valley stuff, like the SEC?
Well, Death Valley stuff
Alabama's played and that's where I was going to say they've played well there, although they have struggled in true road environments the last couple of years. Like that's where we've seen, again, Tennessee and Texas this year, all the penalties. You've seen them get rattled. But they have played well in Death Valley. Here's an interesting thing that I keep coming back to, because I think if LSU plays Florida State again this week, that game goes differently, right? Are we at least in agreement on that?
Yes, I think LSU would beat Florida State if they played now.
Well, if they could kick an extra point, they would have beaten them the first time.
Well, but that gets to my second point. My second point is LSU's special teams still needs to play well to have a chance in this game, because like, to me, and I know it sounds simplistic, but again, Alabama's had some really bad turnovers, penalties and just mistakes in their biggest games this season. Bryce Young has been a magician and has saved them. And actually, this goes back to last season, right? But they wouldn't have been close against Tennessee. They would not have beat Texas if you didn't have like that Bryce Young magic. LSU's had some really terrible special teams gaffes in their losses this year. If they clean that up, Alabama doesn't have a million penalties, then I think we get a good game. Like, we want this to be a really good game. You're talking about like the types of historic games we've had in Alabama LSU. But I think those are keys for both of them to win the game. And certainly for LSU to keep it close. You cannot be making those types of mistakes like they did against Tennessee when Tennessee was then just able to run through them. I'll also say that the committee had more respect for LSU and also changed the idea of like, are they a playoff team? I think for a lot of people by putting them at 10. That was 5 spots higher than they were ranked in the AP poll. So that creates a top 10 win for Tennessee, also a top 10 matchup now. So then, I think the way that they talked about LSU also possibly changes people's perceptions a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know why perceptions needed to be changed. Like in 2017, it's the same story. If Auburn had won the SEC, they were going to be.
I just think about it. I think like we saw them getting better. Like this is a team. This is one where for whatever we can talk about fit with Brian Kelly. Like he's a good coach and the team gets better. But I just think in terms of like the playoff conversation, everything is ramped up since we've gotten rankings. Like that's just naturally going to change the conversation.
Yeah, and
Cam just said that. Our producer Cam Molina just said Bama is 5-0 in Baton Rouge since 2010.
Yeah, I was at all but one of those, and a couple of them were pretty close.
And Nick Terry here saying that number seems about right. Wondering if you should buy a point and take the Tigers at 14.5. And like I've learned buying points.
Don't buy points.
Buying points makes you feel good before the bet. You got an extra score in there, and it feels great. But it's like if 13.5 is wrong, it's going to be really wrong. And I think over time, if you make a habit of buying points over the course of a season, the amount of juice that you're laying outweighs how much you might lose in a single bet by losing by the hook.
So Jackson Carney on the YouTube feed says the fit thing is so tired. Brian Kelly's very well liked here. That's what Nicole was saying. We've covered this a million times on the show. If you win, you fit. That's all there is to it. It's not complicated. All right, guys, let us move to Athens. These lines presented by our partners at BetMGM. Tennessee is an 8-point dog to the dogs between the hedges.
That's a big number, right? But
it
that's
was
a
even
big
bigger
number still.
It was bigger, and people noticed that, and money flowed in on the balls.
Are you guys shocked by that? Because I am surprised at how big
I am too. I am too. I would have put it around 4.5 or 5.
I thought it would be less than a score. I guess 8 is technically one score, but
well, it was 8.5 when we did the reaction show.
Wasn't it 11? Didn't
it open at 11 or 11.5?
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, the fun thing about this is that we're going to find out for real if Tennessee's good. Like that, to me, like one way or the other.
Yes. And what we might find out, and this is as I watched them, I was in Knoxville for that Tennessee-Kentucky game, and I mentioned this on the show the other night, and I know this is premature, and I realize if I say this, there are going to be some people, you can't say that. You can't make that comparison. But what I saw,
no, he's going to do it. He's going to do it.
Reminded me of the 2019 LSU offense where there are just no answers. Now, if Georgia has the answers, then this is not like the 2019 LSU offense. But if they do to Georgia what LSU did to Georgia in 2019, then yeah, it's very similar.
Well, this is the defense that would have to have an answer, right? Like, I mean, I know, our colleague David Ubben had a really great piece breaking down coaches who have faced both of these teams, looking at their strengths and weaknesses. Highly recommend you reading it on The Athletic. And they made the point, again, Georgia lost a lot of NFL talent off of last year's defense, but it's still a really, really good defense. And we've all been waiting and circling this game, even with that, like we knew that the defense was going to take some time. Younger guys were going to step into different roles, but there was a ton of talent on the roster. But still, this is the question, right? Of if anyone can slow down the offense. This is the question of, okay, how do you handle an offense that is just, incredibly terrorizing, stretches the field vertically, moves really quickly, snaps the ball really quickly? Can anyone actually slow it? Or are we talking about having to win a game, even against a great defense, where you're going to give up 30 minimum and trying to keep pace and to try to keep score as your offense, put the pressure on your offense? Like, that's where we decide that, right? Is if there is a defense that should be able to or can slow down this type of offense, it theoretically would have to be this game, right? Like, this is the team. Alabama's defense was not that defense.
No, it was not. And they made Alabama DBs look like they were standing still, and Alabama's DBs are all going to play in the NFL. So that's the part that should scare you. But Georgia does have some absolute freaks. Jalen Carter, probably the best interior defensive lineman in America. Malachi Starks, he's only a freshman, but he's a complete freak. So maybe Georgia has the athletes. But here's the thing I will point out. Tennessee's going to have to score a bunch, because I am telling you right now, Georgia's offense is diverse enough to beat you kind of any way they want to. So,
I mean, was part of the reason why 2019
LSU
LSU had no answers is because they had Jay Jettas and Jamar Chase on that team and Joe Burrow. Like, I mean, sometimes I wonder if you're unstoppable because your team is just too good and it doesn't matter what your scheme is.
Well, Tennessee has Cedric Tillman, who will probably not be on a pitch count like he was against Kentucky last week. Jalen Hyatt, who has more touchdowns than Iowa's team does this season.
You have more touchdowns than Iowa's team does.
That's not true. Iowa has 13 touchdowns. Some of them are defensive.
But this one, we believe in Tennessee's scheme, right? Like, we like what we're seeing. I mean, this does feel like, I see what you're saying, Ari, for sure. But
yeah, I mean, Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson here. Like, I'm going to say it again.
Right. Well,
Jalen Hyatt's having a better season than either one of them had that year.
But you also had Clyde Edwards-Helaire as like a safety valve. I don't know.
Thad Moss was their tight end, wasn't he?
Thad Moss was their tight end.
People forget to cover Jalen Hyatt.
And yeah, it's like Joe Burrow might have had the best.
They don't forget. It's that Tennessee moves him around in a way that you can't.
Yes.
Like, if you read my Tennessee offensive line story, there's a part in there about how they set up a Jalen Hyatt touchdown by running the ball twice in very fast tempo. And then, so they ran inside zone. They get in this condensed formation on 3rd and 2. And you have to put a bunch of guys in the box because they just run the ball twice and they only have to gain 2 yards. And so that they run outside zone to the left, run Jalen Hyatt behind the line of scrimmage to the right, and just dump it off to him. There's one, poor Chris Braswell from Alabama is like, you can see that he figures out the whole defense has been fooled. And he's like, crap. And he just pauses. And he's like, nope, can't stop this.
No, and that's a total credit to what Tennessee is doing. And yeah, again, it's not like people are forgetting to cover him. It's they're doing really cool things in scheme. I'm not gonna say that this offense is as good as LSU's 2019 offense. I think that conversation and the debates and the parallels and comparisons to that team can wait until if Tennessee wins a national championship. We can have those conversations because they still need to go through some of these great teams, just like LSU went through great teams to get to that point.
I think we could get into that conversation if they're in the SEC championship game. Okay.
So what are you going to take though? Are you going to take the? Oh, go ahead.
Jalen Hyatt having about a pretty similar season to Jamar Chase in 2019. Now, Brew McCoy is not having a Justin Jefferson level season, but Tillman maybe we'll see if.
I would take Tennessee. I think I'm taking Tennessee. I think they can win the game.
I think so too.
I am a believer.
I'm going to take Tennessee. I don't know that they can win the game, but I think they can get within 8. How about you, Ari? You going Dogs?
I don't know, man.
He looks
it's
so
hard,
miserable.
Right? It's hard with
this game is
the
snowman.
Is the pain that is on your face trying to make this pick.
I'm melting like a snow cone in Phoenix. I have no idea what I have no idea about this game, and I know that's not good podcasting, but I will say that I honestly like both of the points are. It's like make a lot of sense, and I was reading about Tennessee's creativity offensively, and it makes me just love Josh Heupel more than I should. But
let me reiterate: Georgia's gonna score. Georgia's gonna
no,
score.
I know, and I think they might score with ease, and that's the thing that scares me. And if so, Georgia's defense is not what it was last year, right? And I think people think that Georgia's defense isn't last year, so they're not going to win the national title again. And it's like they are still incredibly good at defense, and they have dudes everywhere. They have it's like, yeah, I want to write a college football book called Dudes Everywhere.
I don't think that's a college football book. I think that book's
whatever.
It might be a magazine
genre that you want. Yeah, be a hell of a magazine. You can buy it in airports. I am very much struggling with this because in my mind, I can picture Tennessee winning this football game and like taking college football by storm. I also could see Georgia just sucking the soul out of these fans and just being like, welcome back to reality.
That Arkansas game messed you up last year.
Yeah. Like I don't like betting against Georgia in any facet of the game. Like at any point, at any number.
It sounds like we've got a pick.
I think I'm leaning towards Georgia here because I think that Tennessee, the public loves them, and that's your favorite thing I like to bring up, Nicole. I think one of the commenters said that 77% of the public is on Tennessee. The line has clearly already moved 4 points because of the influx of cash coming in.
I know, and then you get me nervous by saying that makes you nervous when that happens.
No, it doesn't make me nervous. What makes me nervous is Georgia is awesome, and they're playing at home, and Tennessee has kind of been through the ringer a little bit.
That's fair.
Also, Tennessee's defense may be much improved from the beginning of the year, but I don't know if that's problem solved either. I like Georgia by like 10 in this game.
Okay, are you guys concerned about? But are you concerned about some of the offensive performances that Georgia's had?
Sure.
Not particularly. No.
Okay. Georgia.
I'm not that concerned either. I just think Tennessee will. If Tennessee is able to play the game the way Tennessee wants, Tennessee can win the game.
Andy, remember when you and I were driving to the Alabama game from B-Dubs?
Yeah.
We were listening to Georgia on the radio. Mm-hmm. And I called out their sequence of plays to you before they happened, and then it happened exactly the same way. That, to me, is concerning because when Georgia gets into those types of games sometimes, you kind of can see that offense playing out that way. It's like the swing pass, the miss pass. It's just like I'm with you on that, Nicole. I think you're with me on this. Georgia's offense does not strike me like I would be more confident in Tennessee's offense than Georgia's offense. Now, the difference here is that Georgia's offense doesn't have to play against Georgia's defense. So I think that this game literally could be like 34-24. Like I think if people think that this is going to be like 56-49 or something, I think I might push back on that a little bit.
No, I agree with that. I think that what we saw in Georgia in week 1 against Oregon, a win that is only looking better and better and better every week. I think we thought that Georgia was just going to be world beaters on both sides, right? And I don't think that is necessarily the case. I feel better about their defense than I do their offense. We've seen it be really special. We've seen the creative ways that they have used different players, including Brock Bowers, to beat other teams. But there have been moments and halves and most of the Missouri game, for example, where it was shaky. And that's where it's like Tennessee's is reliable, even against, again, the better defenses they've played so far.
That's why I made that comparison I made, even if I made it a little prematurely. But we'll know after this.
I mean, both of these teams have team totals over 30 points. So that's the game we're expecting. 35, 31.
I think if you're Georgia, you definitely have to score at least in the 30s.
I think you got to score in the 40s to win this game.
So you like the over 66.5?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I mean, the Alabama-Tennessee game, the total was 100.
There's also a lot of.
You don't think there's a scenario where Tennessee scores 17?
No.
That's tough because even if they get held up most of the game, they will get loose at some point.
They will get loose. They also have enough possessions. I would be shocked. That game.
If you think that Tennessee can score 40 points, I would change my pick.
I think the winner of this game will score at least 40
points. The winner will do it. But I think the minimum is.
Well, yeah, the winner might. I'm saying, do you think Tennessee will?
If Tennessee scores 40, they're winning.
Tennessee's team total for the game, I think, is 31 points. Over.
Over.
Then that makes me question my pick.
They're very hard to stop, Ari.
I know.
Kentucky's
This is a really
defense
tough
isn't
one.
bad,
This
and
is
they
a really
they
tough
made
one.
Kentucky's defense look stupid.
I think this might be the hardest game we've picked this year. And which is funny because we're wrong all the time, so that just means it wasn't easy. But like coming into it, like I just don't have a really good feel for.
Congratulations, Bulldogs, on your 34-11 victory.
My favorite thing was Ari a second ago being like, "Yeah, I could see Tennessee breaking through and owning college football, or I could see Georgia just crushing them." I'm like, yes, those are the two possible outcomes.
No. There's another possible
sides of the spectrum here.
There's another possible one, which is Georgia wins 34-30, and it's a respectable game, and Tennessee's still legit top 4 team, and but I could see Georgia just like stomping them back to reality too.
I'm like, with Andy. Happen. I think it's the Tennessee Kentucky game and the LSU game that are what make me buy into them.
Those are good defenses with good players, and they
made it look so easy.
Yeah,
they were.
They made it look easy against Alabama. It's never looked easy against Alabama.
They were so open. Like that's where.
How much better is Georgia's defense than Alabama's?
It's better. I don't know how much better. Like Alabama has the best pass rusher in the
All right,
country.
I'm taking Tennessee, guys.
Georgia's not a big sack team.
We flipped him.
Now let me have a personal disclaimer to everybody listening to this. There's no way I would be putting hard-earned cash on this.
Real money on this game.
But I will watch the first quarter, and I will watch the live lines. And if there is a good opportunity, you never know what could come up. But like, I'm not going to bet going into this.
I think we should switch to a different game because Ari's going to flip-flop again if we continue.
We will, and we're going to take
tie.
We're going to take a there you go, push.
No, push. It's going to be a push.
Yeah, Georgia by 8. There you go.
Yeah, Georgia's going to win 38-30. Okay.
All right. We're going to pause briefly. If you are listening to the podcast, when we come back, you will hear my interview with Megan Maroney, the singer of Tennessee Orange, which is a song that has been blowing up since Tennessee beat Alabama, but is all about the Tennessee-Georgia game because she is a Georgia graduate who wrote a song about falling in love with a Tennessee fan and being willing to wear Tennessee orange for him. It's a great song. Very fun interview. You're going to hear her on the podcast, a podcast exclusive. We come back. If you're watching on the YouTube stream, we'll be right back with more picks. Sling TV has something for everyone. All your favorite shows on all your favorite channels, all right at your fingertips. What you want to watch is up to you. It really just depends on what kind of mood you're in. If you're looking for sports, Sling's got you covered with pro and college football and basketball, baseball, hockey, soccer, golf, racing, and so much more. Sling also has reality TV, so you can keep up with the latest gossip with today's hottest shows on channels like TLC, Bravo, MTV, and more. And don't forget about news. Get up to date with today's most trusted sources like MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News. Feeling adventurous? Explore thousands of movies and shows on demand. So what kind of mood are you in? No matter the answer, Sling has what you need. And getting Sling is easy. Sign up and start watching in just 5 minutes. You can stream on any device and record up to 50 hours with your included DVR space. And the best part is you can pause or customize your subscription at any time. Check out sling.com for special offers. Sling, the TV you love for a price you'll love. Try it today. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you've heard me talk about Roback. You know I was wearing my green Roback Performance hoodie when I caught a pass during the Alabama-Texas A&M game at Bryant-Denny Stadium because Roback makes you elite. I mean, it has to be that. That has to be the reason that I made a one-handed catch in an SEC football game. But it doesn't just have to be me. It could be you too. Roback's performance polos, performance hoodies, performance joggers, everyday shorts. They are the athleisure that makes you feel like you can do anything. And by the way, it's not just stuff to wear when you're lounging around. Right now, if you're watching the video stream, I am wearing my blue herringbone Roback Performance Polo. This thing looks great anywhere. And look, you're walking around, you see somebody else rocking that dog logo, you give them a little nod, you're like, oh yeah, you, sir, or madam, are also elite. So go to roback.com for a generous 20% off for all new customers through the end of this week using the code Andy. That's RHOBACK.com with the code Andy. 20% off polos, Q-zips, hoodies, shorts, you name it. Roback.com, RHOBACK.com, and the code is Andy. Welcome back. We spent a long time on the Tennessee-Georgia game, but that's fine because I think it's the biggest regular season game of the season thus far.
When's the last time there was a regular season game this good? Going into it.
Alabama, LSU 2019.
I mean, so think about that. I mean, it's been 3 years.
Yep.
Michigan, Ohio State last year. No,
that was a good one. I don't know if it was like this.
Michigan
it turned out
State
great.
Yeah.
It turned out great.
Michigan and Michigan State last year was
Michigan State last year was the top 10.
Really fun. I think that was the most fun game of the season last year. So, yeah, I mean, there are more of these. We don't have to compare. We can just be excited that this game's coming.
We can just appreciate.
Do you ever get goosies on your arm when you think about it?
Goosebumps? Yes.
Britt calls them goosies.
Yeah, of course she does. All right. Glizzies. She should call them glizzies.
Oh, I actually have trained her. There was a person at the Halloween party that we were at on Saturday night dressed up as a hot dog, and she grabbed me and she goes, "Look, he's a glizzy." And I was like, "I love you so much."
Beautiful. Let us move to the Big 12 because there is potential for high drama in the Big 12. Texas Tech headed to TCU. TCU is an 8.5-point favorite in this game. The Horned Frogs, I learned a lot doing the homework you gave me after the games the other night, Ari.
Yeah. That was an in-depth story you did.
Yeah, it was really interesting looking at some of these stats. TCU with the number 3 strength of record in the country. It's a hard thing to do against this schedule, to be undefeated right now. Tennessee's number 1, Ohio State's number 2, in case you're wondering. And what that means is, how would a top 25 team fare against the schedule you've played so far, and where do you rank in there? So TCU's done a really amazing job so far. I don't know if we appreciate it enough, but can they keep doing this? Because it feels like the Big 12 is so even that eventually it all breaks down. Texas Tech, now they laid their egg last week against Baylor at home, got destroyed. But this is also the team that beat Texas.
I'm looking at TCU's schedule right now. They've only played one game. That was a one-possession game all year, and that was the thrilling comeback at home against Oklahoma State. So, I mean,
I think it's because they fall behind, but then they come all the way back and then pull away a little bit.
Yeah, it's the falling behind part that scares you.
But they're still at what point beating teams by multiple scores. The only one that they didn't beat by multiple scores, they had to come back from really late in the game.
But the selection committee cares that they're falling behind.
Yeah, I don't understand what that means. I didn't like that.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna help out with that because that has been my concern with them.
It is
over the last few weeks. But until somebody beats them, I'm in. I'm taking TCU to cover every week until they
it's like at a certain point you have to shift your thought process that TCU is just a Big 12 team that happens to have not lost yet to they're good. And like if they're good, then they should be able to beat Texas Tech by 8.5 points. I'm with TCU too.
I agree. And I also think that it's BS that the committee is holding it against them, that they've needed to come back in games and they're not holding that against other people. I do think too, TCU's had a string of games where they ended up facing like the other team's backup quarterback. Some of those backup quarterbacks have turned out to be quite good.
I say Will Howard did just fine against Oklahoma State last week.
He's been phenomenal. So I think they're getting dinged for certain things and for the lack of a brand name and all of that. But yeah, I figured out a couple of weeks ago I would just ride with TCU until it ends because it's fun. This is a really fun offense. They're really creative. I enjoy them, and I love Max Duggan's story. I think his kind of comeback and not earning the starting job and eventually earning it and having this type of season, like that's just awesome. So I'm all in with the Horned Frogs until they lose. Let's go.
All right. So we are a TCU podcast until somebody takes them out, which maybe it's this week, maybe it's next week, maybe it's never, and they're going to the playoff. I still think 12-1 Big 12 champ TCU should be heavily considered for the playoff, but that's just me. One of the other things I learned, guys, doing that blind resume thing before the ranking show came out, the advanced stats still really love Texas. They think Texas is back, even though Texas has demonstrated very clearly it is not back. Texas is a 2.5-point favorite at the team that beat Oklahoma State 48-0 last week, Kansas State. Give me the Wildcats. I don't care if this is a trap. I don't care if Vegas is setting a trap for me.
It's just a precedent that you have to set. Yeah. I like Kansas State too. I think they're playing very well, obviously. And if you beat Oklahoma State by 48 points and give up 0 points, it strikes me as Kansas State headed to the Big 12 championship game, and they might get to play TCU again. And if they play TCU again, I don't think the TCU will beat them. I think it's very hard to beat the same team twice, especially one if they're humming the way that I think they are. Texas is a good football team. They're more talented, but they're also still Texas, and they're going on the road against a very good team that feels good about themselves. I'm not laying points there.
Okay, so I understand all of those reasons, and I also did not pick Kansas State last week, which was a very dumb decision as well. But I also don't want to be. I don't want all of us to be on the same page all the time because it's boring. I do like Texas, not as much as the computers like Texas, but I'm going to say that there is a hangover from what Kansas State did last week, and there is some potential challenges.
Texas is a walking hangover.
Yeah, Sixth Street creates a lot of hangovers, but
it's not even. They just.
I
like,
understand.
Texas
I understand exactly where you're coming from, Nicole.
But like, let's just. I mean, Bijan Robinson. I still really like the pieces that Texas has, and I think it's possible.
I always like the pieces. That's been my problem.
Exactly, but the problem is every once in a while they put everything.
They're always great.
Every once in a while they put everything together and make us look stupid.
They do. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they
do.
Texas is if you took 10 jigsaw puzzles of beautiful pieces and then mix them all together and then put them on the table and then you're trying to put together a puzzle and they just don't fit. And it's like, I'm waiting for one day when the puzzle
We're not all
fits.
making the same pick. The puzzle's going to fit. I'm calling it.
Okay, well, you want to put some more cottage cheese on it then?
No.
All right, one more in the Big 12. The Baylor Bears seem to have found themselves in the last couple of weeks. They beat Kansas and then went on the road and destroyed Texas Tech. Now they are headed to Oklahoma, where, lo and behold, when Dylan Gabriel is healthy and playing, Oklahoma is just fine. When he's not, they have an offense that does not do anything. Baylor is a 3.5-point underdog in Norman. Do we think Oklahoma just keeps on rolling now that they got their quarterback back and the defense is learning the schemes under Brent Venables? It certainly seems like there's a lot of confidence now in Norman that was not there 3-4 weeks ago.
Ari, I'll defer to you.
I have this thought. If Dylan Gabriel played, I was thinking about this the other day, actually, and I was afraid to ask on the podcast, but it's a podcast, so let's ask. If Dylan Gabriel played against Texas, would that have been a 2-possession game in the second half at any point?
Yes.
Like was that the whole? It's like I'm trying.
Oklahoma's offense would have functioned. Yes,
like Oklahoma was so pathetic in that game, and I don't know what percentage of that pathetic showing was just the fact their quarterback didn't play. And it might be 80%. It might be 50%.
I'd say it was probably 85 to 90%.
Okay. I think I like Oklahoma here then.
My problem is I think Baylor might be back too.
Yeah, but Baylor's good.
Baylor's legitimately good. I think they're both playing a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually a sneaky good game.
I'm excited for this one because, watching Baylor the last couple of weeks, it's nice seeing them back to what they looked like last year. And I think that's what you were kind of wondering because, they make the move to go with Blake Shapen at quarterback. And you think, okay, they must really think they're going to be better doing this than the team that won the Big 12 last year. And then they start slow. But this team looks like it can play with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Give me the Bears. Give me the Bears.
Okay, I have no choice but to take Oklahoma.
I think you're probably. I have no read on this.
Is Oklahoma going to lose their 4th game?
They could.
Is Texas A&M going to lose their 5th straight?
Oh, we could go to that one right now. Boom. Florida, 3.5-point dog in College Station. I have no idea what happens in this game.
Florida.
No clue.
Florida.
None.
Florida. You got to be some sort of psychopath if you're going to be laying points with A&M right now. Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think A&M's competency on offense was strictly a function of Ole Miss's defense, or is Connor Wegman a better quarterback than what we've seen?
But it only was for part of the game, right?
The world can't handle me if Texas A&M comes out and lights up Florida.
Florida's defense is not good. I'm warning you now.
I know, but if an A&M with Connor Wegman has like a competent offense, yes. But shouldn't they have won the game then? Shouldn't they have done more than what they did in the beginning of the game, throughout the game, if that's the case?
I feel like 60 minutes of competent offense from Texas A&M is
That's
still too much to
That is
expect.
too
Florida,
much.
Michael
That's
Gosnell.
fair.
Florida has covered every game as an underdog this season.
Uh-oh, there you go. That's a very interesting stat.
Florida!
Oh,
Florida.
I'm going to be the anti-homer and go with Texas A&M.
I'm
How's
actually
I have
working
no
on
idea
a
who wins this
thoughts
game.
piece about recruiting stuff heading into the early signing period.
Yep.
Now let me say this again, and I don't know if you guys remember this. Texas A&M signed 18 top 100 players last year.
Yeah,
18.
I remember.
It's literally 20% of the best players in the entire country.
It's literally 18%, but yes.
That is most insane thing.
We're bad at math podcast.
Florida.
It was so close. That's a round number and really easy to do the math of.
No, I think actually that
I can't.
only the top 97% or 97 players in the country are the best players.
Guys, we got to pause one more time. When we come back, we will have the number you've been waiting for, plus an intriguing game in the ACC. We'll be right back. When everyone is going one way, it pays to go the other way. Zig when they zag. Movement has been doing everything different since day one, creating watches with refreshingly clean designs, top-tier materials, and unbeatable prices. You can stand out with Movement's watches, eyewear, and more during their Black Friday seasonal sale with a discount that you can't miss. I love Movement. I've got my Raptor watch. It's outstanding. It looks like it costs hundreds of dollars more than it costs. And people always looking, where'd you get that? Well, I got it from Movement. It's timeless timekeeping with a fresh look. Movement's designs come in countless styles for every occasion. You can shop with confidence with a 24-month warranty, free shipping, and free returns on orders over $50. And watches are just the beginning. Movement's line of eyewear and jewelry is designed to set you apart for all the right reasons. Movement Ice Roll eyewear will filter out the most intense blue light rays so you can look your best while doing your best work. So be the good gifter with Movement. During their Black Friday seasonal sale, get a special discount of 25% off site-wide with the code BF25 just for the holidays. Join the movement today at mvmt.com. That's mvmt.com, and the code is BF25. Reserve Bar is your online source for premium and luxury spirits, wine, and champagne. And now Reserve Bar offers same-day delivery. Reserve Bar has a vast lineup of rare and hard-to-find bottles, premium brands, celebrity spirits, and limited releases that you just won't find at your local store. And no one does spirits gifting better than Reserve Bar. Looking for an elevated gift? ReserveBar.com has you covered, and you can have that gift delivered right to the door, and you can get it engraved, which is perfect for birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, you name it. If you're getting into home bartending, they've got all the barware you need at Reserve Bar. Reserve Bar also has a great feature called Cocktail Lounge. It's a treasure trove of cocktail recipes, bartending tips, and interviews with master distillers, celebrities, and more. Need something for a party tonight? ReserveBar.com offers same-day delivery straight to your door. Did you forget that birthday gift? Reserve Bar to the rescue with same-day delivery. Visit ReserveBar.com today and use the promo code Andy to save $10 off your first purchase of $75 or more on spirits, wine, or pre-made cocktails, but only when you use our special offer at ReserveBar.com with the code Andy. That's ReserveBar.com, code Andy for $10 off your purchase of $75 or more. The offer expires on December 31st, 2022. We have a new show word, a new word for the show's lexicon. Walt Clark, there's some more arithmetic. I love it. Arithmetic is my new favorite term. We're probably going to make t-shirts at some point if we ever figure out how to make t-shirts or stickers.
Well, here's the thing you have to consider. Like, is it me being bad at math, or is it me using the word literally like a 16-year-old?
No, it's the math.
It's the math.
It's both. It's both. You use the word literally when you actually meant figuratively, and then the very poor math. This also. So let's get to the number that everybody's waiting for. We do this every week. The Iowa total. Iowa Purdue 39.5. You know what, guys? I'm going over with this one. I think Purdue can score a little on Iowa. And I think Iowa's defense can score a little.
Sorry, I'm very distracted by the arithmetic.
What did you just say? Did you say you think Iowa can score a little?
No, he said Purdue.
I
said
okay. I'm going under. I'm going under.
I'm going over. I'm going over as well. Purdue. Jeff Brom is good against Iowa. Purdue's really fun. They've had some weird games. They need to
Overcorrection to last week's game. Under.
Yes, they need to no. Oh, you mean for Iowa? I was saying for Purdue, they also need to like shake off their last game against Wisconsin. So I go over as well.
Let's stay in the Big Ten. Ohio State 38.5 at Northwestern. I threw this out here because it's a gory, disgusting, huge spread.
But isn't the field supposed to be gory and disgusting?
100% going to cover this no matter what.
And Northwestern's like going to take a fire hose and their grass is going to be long and they're going to be playing in mud.
Oh, it's going to be like playing in a cow pasture.
They do that anymore.
But
they used to let it be long.
I was reading on Twitter, people were talking about how the field conditions are going to be like playing in a sandbox filled with mud.
Let's see what Evanston's weather is on Saturday. High 62, low 45, raining. Blech. Ohio State covers anyway.
56-10. I think I like Ohio State too.
Yeah.
All right,
same.
one more game, guys. North Carolina is a 7-point favorite at Virginia. I want to bring this up because I had somebody write into my mailbag column this week about the idea of Drake May as a Heisman contender. And initially I'm like, and I started looking at the numbers. Drake May's numbers almost identical to CJ Stroud's.
Oh yeah, they're monster.
And they've
numbers.
lost one game.
I would be very curious how many more offensive possessions North Carolina has had.
Well, I can tell
I bet you it's a lot.
Plays they've run.
Yeah, I bet you it's a lot.
But by the way, Drake May also North Carolina's leading rusher, which is kind of
Drake May is awesome. But
he's a stud. Like he is.
I think it's easier to put up crazy offensive numbers when your team gets the ball back every 5 minutes because they allowed a touchdown.
Does the level of competition play into this though?
I don't know. Here's the thing about the Heisman. Like CJ Stroud has incredible numbers and everybody like knows he's good. But like, has he been truly outstanding this year?
Oh, he's been pretty good.
I mean, he's like really, really good, and he might be the number 1 overall pick. I'm not trying to give him crap. It's just like, has he had an outstanding season?
I'd say he's had an outstanding season. Yes, I don't. Hendon Hooker feels like the one who's kind of running away with it now. But if he gets shut down on Saturday, then that changes. And if CJ Stroud has a monster game, he's again.
Yep, you still have that big game. So. That defines it. But I'm with you guys on Drake May. This line feels small. Virginia is not a good football team right now. So I'm surprised by this. I think it's an easy pick for the Tar
Heels. I think you say Virginia's playing better, but they beat Georgia Tech and then went 4 overtimes with Miami. I don't know that
did anyone play well last week? I'm not sure.
So,
in a 4 overtime game where there were no touchdowns?
Yeah, that Virginia Tech Miami game made my eyes bleed. Though I did enjoy the ref who sounded like Mr. Mackey. That was a lot of fun. So I hope he's back at another ACC game this week. And look, this will be fun. I'm just saying, watch Drake May. Keep watching Drake May because he might wind up in New York. I'm not just saying that just because in our Heisman draft, I picked Hendon Hooker in the 1st round and Drake May in the 4th round. That's not why I'm saying that.
And others have pointed this out, that it was about this time last year that Kenny Pickett started getting attention and the steam that ultimately brought him all the way to New York. So keep that in mind too.
Let's go. Drake May's going to get some Jean famous foods, lamb, cumin noodles in New York the day before the Heisman. He probably will eat something more expensive that day, but that's what I would do.
Of course, This is about food. This is about the trip to New York for the food for Andy.
Always is.
Always is. It's got great food.
Yeah, I like to stay on brand. Ari, Nicole, it has been a pleasure. I cannot wait for Saturday. I cannot wait to talk about it all. We'll talk to you guys after the games.